Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today's session, we're going to talk about an experience, and it's going to be about our success on how to do a complete digital transformation, not just by implementing the ERP, but by doing the full process for the client. Our experience has shown us that it's not enough to go to the client and ask for what tools to use, but actually that transformation is really not an easy trip, especially for clients that are not really used to automation. And the big problem, always the big problem for medium and the small and many of the large organizations, especially in the region that we operate in, where we operate in Africa and the Middle East. In Africa and the Middle East, the situation is different because a lot of organizations, they don't have any kind of automation. And they have a lot of employees that are comfortable with the way they work. So to move the employees from the comfort zone, this is actually the big challenge that the client face. So this is why we use our methodology. Who we are a company for Odoo. We are not so old. We have just been working with Odoo for 3 years, but we have 3 years of experience because we, as a group of creator or founder of the company, we have 30 years of experience between us. We are seven people owning the company, and we have 30 years of experience in the market. We have done a lot of project transformation in many countries, in South Africa, in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Morocco, in Nigeria, and Kenya. So we have a lot of experience in that. This is why we entered the market with this methodology. The best way to describe it, I mean, I'm going to skip quickly through the traditional company information, but the most important here is our main success story now. Venus is a group of companies. We have started working with Venus since 2020. That's almost 3 years now. But when we started working with Venus, actually the question was not that they want digital transformation. They said we want a tool. We want to make an ERP. Always the client asks for an ERP, but this is most of the time is not the right answer. So what we did is that we came in with a totally different approach. Let me just, the best way to get this is from the owner of or the CEO of the company himself. Just for 2 minutes, he will tell us what happened exactly. Why the video is... Yeah. الصوت مش طالع. There is no sound. Play. Doesn't want to play. Sorry.
My name is Hassan Abdul Fadil. I'm founder and managing director of Venus International and other 5 companies in the group. It takes 3 major steps to be able to have the outcome of the digital transformation. One, you really need to know which tool to choose. It could be too big for what your needs or maybe too small for your needs. So that, from my understanding, I would like to say that takes 25% of the effort that you want to put. Another 25% would be understanding what you actually need out of that tool, because if you don't know what you're going to use it for, you're definitely not going to be able to use it to achieve that objective. The other 50% is on the implementation part. This is the time where all organizations need to be resilient and agile. We were introduced to YDS, where they came in with Odoo. YDS came with a different proposal. They positioned themselves as a business solution provider rather than a digital transformation solution provider. They advised us to actually have a complete business assessment exercise before we start the implementation or the customization even of the program. To do that, you'll have to actually go back and study the competencies needed for every job. So this way, the set or the competency matrix for every person, department, and the organization itself would lead to achieving the business plan. Otherwise, you would have good people, but not the right one for the job. And after that was all done, it was the easy part to customize, because now we have built a blueprint for where we are and another blueprint for where we want to be and the roadmap. So this way it was easy, like you choose a ride in Uber. You just say where you are and where you want to go, and here you go, you see the blue line. So basically YDS gave us the blue line.
Okay, this is actually, Mr. Hassan, he's actually, he had this experience with us. He was very happy. But what was the outcome of this? Actually, the outcome was really even surprising for them. When they started to work with us, they couldn't dream of achieving 300% growth in almost 2 years and a half. So they were just hoping to organize their work, to organize their sales. They were just hoping that they find a tool that make their life easy as management and as employee. But they never dreamed of growing this business like that. Actually, when he introduced the company, he said group of companies. When we started working with them, they were not a group of companies, they were just one company. And actually 2 companies, one here and one in another city. One in Cairo and one in another city. But they were just importing and managing freights, managing shippings. But when we worked with them, when we reorganized the job, we started from scratch as if we were building the company from the beginning. We built their vision, their mission, everything. We started reviewing every single aspect of their company. It was not an easy job. Actually, we had a lot of resistance in the organization, and this is actually the experience that we always like to go through. But it's not an easy way to convince the client to not rush into the implementation of an ERP before doing it, because always the client is in a hurry. He's always saying, I need to close this in 2 months. I need to get an ERP up and running in 3 months, and so on. I need to do my digital transformation by flipping a switch. I just need to flip a switch and I'm digitally transformed. So the way we see it, let me just attach, I always like to write with my hands. It makes it much more, it gives more feelings in the matter. When I write with my hand, it's actually better. I've switched this one, but it's not displaying the. Excuse me. Can you please? It was just working now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The way I like to explain it, actually, here. Let me try to draw you an image. most of the time we have the client business. Here's the client. Client, of course, is an organization, and he has employees, and they have tools, and they have clients, and of course, they have partners. And what managed their relations was all this is actually processes and regulations, whatever the client is business on. So this is a traditional client. This is an old traditional client without digital transformation. But what's needed here? We need to transform this client. We need to transform this client into what we call a digital client. So that's what we call transformation, which is the area here. The activities that we do here as a company is actually this one. This is what we do. This is where YDS come. And actually, this is where the other tools also will help us, like Odoo or XYZ. What happened here in the example that we are showing today is just one example, by the way, but actually this is a very interesting example because you know what? Venus, before they work with us, they had an experience working with one of the big fives. If I show you the long version of the video, he was saying that in 2014 and 2015, they had the experience of working one of the big fives, the big fives in ERP. So, and it failed. It failed terribly. Just like if you saw today, KPMG, they were saying they went and made a project with a very big vendor, much bigger than Odoo actually, and it failed, still failed. So it's not about the tool, actually. As even Mr. Hassan were explaining, the digital transformation is mainly 4 parts. It is 25% depending on the tool. Here where it comes Odoo, Dynamics, SAP, Oracle, whatever. And 25% is depending on the client itself. I mean the level of understanding, which is let's say the client level of understanding what is the digital transformation is, and 50% is actually for the implementation, which actually must come last, not first. So what we do here is that we have to start with the most important matters. We have to start with changing the client first. So the client is used to work with his old processes. The employees are very comfortable using the manual tools that they have. And also the management. The management is always scared of this transformation, especially if there is a lot of money involved in it. So they don't know where they're going. Actually, in here the point that I want to stress, Mr. Hassan was saying, it's like taking an Uber. You want to go this way and you are here, but you need to know where you are first. So you need to know when you open your Google Maps, what the first thing you do? You press on Get My Location. You need to know where you are. You need to know your environment, and then Uber or the application asks you where do you want to go. You say I want to go this way. I mean I want to go to Frankfurt, for example. So it say okay, you need to go to Frankfurt. Then this is the blue line. This is where you will go. So if you know that, and if you know where you'll go, you know the road, you will not hesitate to take the trip. But imagine that if you open your Google Maps and the GPS satellite is not working, so you say, where I am, you don't know. So I want to go this way. I don't know how to go. You will not be able to take this trip. So this is actually what we do. A lot of people think that the best way to do this is buying a software or buying a tool. I mean, okay, with all the respect for all the tools, tools are very good and very important to choose the right tool. But where will I use the tool? How will I use the tool? This is why many projects fail. You've heard it today yourself, where KPMG used a very sophisticated and very nice tool, but they still failed because the implementation was not right. So this is why the first thing we do, we understand where we are, we know where we are, but then we do the transformation without without typing a letter on the keyboard, without doing any tooling yet. We do the transformation on paper. We do the transformation on the client process first, even manually. This way the client is ready to implement the tool. Then the customization is going to take really a couple of months like the client wants at the beginning. This is where we can achieve the client dream of having a quick implementation. Sometimes the client is ready. Sometimes we go to clients and they're already ready, so we don't have to go to all of this. But the problem is the client compares themselves with other clients, and they are not at the same position. Many clients, they say, okay, this company and that company did the implementation in 2 months or 3 months. But the question, are you ready like they were ready? This is why it's very important that we do. So in order to elaborate more on this, let me get back to my slides. Can you please help me switching again? Okay, I'll wait 2 seconds. Yeah, okay. So the other client that we did the same for, actually another client, is called Al-Hagar. This is a different type of client and a different type of situation. This is a manufacturing, semi-manufacturing. I mean, they do some manufacturing, not a lot, but they are in manufacturing. And they wanted to do this, but they had a very complicated set of stock, set of, I mean, their business is not easy. They have a lot of items, I think, kind of like, how many items were in database? Sorry? 9,000. Okay, so they have a lot of items to do, so it was not an easy trip. But here, the tool here was a difference. The tool here, importance was much more important than in the other case, because this is a complicated case. So we have to be flexible. This is why we say we need to be resilient and agile. Resilient means you have to adapt your implementation according to the client situation. The client situation here were different, so we took a different approach. We used the tool at the beginning, but we started making the transformation as we go with the client. So as we go now, we have finished almost 50% or more of the project, and we have done some transformation on the process and with the client side, and I've done some implementation, but the client started to realize the outcome, because we are working in an agile method. Last story that I would like to mention is still at the early beginning, but actually very interesting. This is actually another client, Abu Ghali. This is a client at Egypt, actually. This is a manufacturing client, and we are working with them on a very big scope. When this client came to us, they did not ask. They were already decided. They have already decided on Odoo. They were comparing Odoo with SAP, but they decided on Odoo, and they came and they were already going to start the implementation Odoo tomorrow. We're going to sign the contract tomorrow. They came to us and they sat with us for a full day from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And we made a complete change in their mindset. So they decided not to implement, not to sign the contract, and we go to the trip for them like we did with Venus and like we did with Hagar. So we did already the transformation on the organization development side. Now we'll go to do the process engineering, and we are going to start the implementation of Odoo right after that. The data cleansing and so on will start maybe this month or next month maximum. And then we'll do another, also we'll give them some applications that would fit for their HR and sales and distribution needs. Due to the lack of time, I'll not be able to continue. Just the rest is really not, you can watch it on our website. We have a lot of references, very good references actually, because we have been working, as I told you, with this client for 30 years as a team, and we have done a lot of major projects, and we have a lot of experience on implementing such transformation. If anybody has any questions, or you can even contact me after this because of the lack of time. So does anybody have any question?